Stayed in this haunted house that was built on a graveyard and cemetery and
Legitimately haunted?
legitimately haunted.
All right, we got to dive into this.
Legit, bro. Like,
Hold on. How old are you?
I was at the time, 4 or 5 years old.
Okay.
4 or 5 years old. That was my first experience I'll never forget this experience. So I'm laying in bed on this, you can look up this old place. It's Walker Drive, near Fort Meade. There's no more houses there. It's just all built up and torn down. But lived in this all brick house that was connected to another home that if you poked the hole through the wall, you could see the neighbors in the adjacent room. Few 100-square-foot home, very, very, very small. And my dad would always say if you stood in the front door, you could spit and you'd hit the backyard. This very small home. So as a kid, we would always hear like people running upstairs, footsteps, and my parents would, ignore it. It's just a house creaking or whatever. And these footsteps would start to come down the stairs. You'd hear heavy footsteps just going around upstairs, and they start to go downstairs and they would stop. A few other times you would hear conversations, but like whispers or like staticky whispers on a radio station you couldn't tune into all the way. And as a kid, you don't think too much of it. You just hear stuff. But the scariest, most traumatizing, if you want to call it that, experience that I've had, I was laying in bed, and to this day, I'm paranoid of sleeping on my back because of it. Laying in bed on my back, and something woke me up. And I see a soldier who, at the time, I had no idea what his uniform looked like. It was different than my dad's. I didn't find out later that it was like a old Civil War style uniform. And I see a soldier walk past my doorway. I rub my eyes, put the blankets over my head, rub them some more, and look back down. And now it's not just one, there's soldiers, a line of them, walking, and they would turn to go down the stairs into the main living room space. Maybe 10 soldiers passed by. The last soldier, he got in my doorway, turned, looked, and started to walk into my room towards me. Jumped out of my bed, ran through him into the bathroom, curled up on the toilet, and started screaming. My dad runs out, and I'm screaming at him, please don't spank me, please don't spank me, because that's what normally would happen. And he came in, grabbed me, held me, and I told him what I saw as best as I could, and he says, I know, son, I know. I saw it too. That was my first real ghost experience.
Whoa, he did see it too?
Yeah, well, to pass by, his room was to the left of my room. And yeah, so I guess they were coming out the wall in the hallway, walking past his door and my door before they went downstairs. And he saw it, I saw it, terrified me. And the looks of their clothes, I'll never forget. The uniforms they wore the long gun with the musket, or not musket, but it had a long, not sword, but knife, bayonet at the tip of it. And they were marching with the little cap hats down the stairs. I had never seen that uniform a day in my life, and I won't forget it. And the last guy walking into my room, yeah.
Did you have more experiences?
Yeah. I've had one, I guess more recent, when within the past 15 years or so, I was working at a gun range called Rifles Only. It's a big precision rifle training facility. And me and one of the instructors, his name's Win, and we're driving down this dirt road to get to where the facility is. It's at nighttime. We had just gotten back from the bar. I wasn't drinking. I was designated driver, but I was sitting passenger seat. But regardless, we're driving, and I hear, it sounded like a radio came on, the static, and I heard this old lady chuckling, laughing, and saying something. I couldn't understand what she was saying, but it sounded like she was in the floorboard. That's what it sounded like. And I look at him, and he looks over at me, and it completely went off. It stopped. He looks over at me, and he's like, did you hear that? And I'm like, dude, you heard that, right? And he's like, it's not my radio. He had an old pickup truck. The wires are all over the place, and it's an old beat-up pickup truck. Radio does not work. And we just kind of ignored it after that. Never talked about it. He didn't want to believe it, but we both heard what we heard. It was an old lady in the floorboard talking to some, I don't know what she was saying. So old lady.
Whoa.
When, if you're out there, you know what I'm talking about.
Damn.
But that's my experience.
Well, let's go back to childhood. So you grew up in a haunted house in Maryland.
Yep. And it was built on a cemetery. That was like pretty much, and as a kid, I remember, okay, so this is the weird portion. My mom, her side of the family, my grandmother, they've been introduced to like voodoo or magic. And I knew this trick as a kid of how to listen to hell with a sewing needle and a cup and, you know, to listen to the screams of hell. I don't know if I never heard anything, but you hear, I think it's just the echo inside the cup. But we would leave a devil pie for the devil or whatever. We would make it out of mud and stuff like that. Me and my next door neighbor, Kia and Tasha, 2 girls, and we were doing stuff like that as kids, like weird stuff like that. My sister, another scary story for you. We hear a knock on the door, or she did, and she goes to the back door, and there's 2 women standing there in all white. There's no white people where we live at. There's 2 blonde hair ladies standing at the door. They took her out to the playground, and when she came back, she learned how to make where you take a gallon of milk, cut it out to make a bird feeder. And she came back with that, and the ladies taught her how to make it, but there were no ladies. So yeah, that was another incident.
Wow.
I don't know, but she knows that one vividly.
Very strange.
That. Yeah.
Very strange. How many siblings did you have?
At that time, living with us, we had 3. So me, my younger sister, and my older sister. And I have a sister I just found out about like a year ago. And my brother, I thought was my friend when I first met him. In Florida, I thought that this kid was cool, but turned out he was my brother too. So I have, that I know of, 5.
Holy shit.
Yeah. My dad was getting around, man.
Right on.
He was getting around.
Let's go